So you think conflict is won with brute force. You think victory is all about having the biggest army or the sharpest weapons. You're wrong. You're playing a child's game on a battlefield that was designed by absolute masters.
You see the person shouting, the one who's just filled with rage and aggression, and you think that's the one in control. You mistake all that noise, all that chaos, for strength. And that right there is precisely why you are, and why you will probably always be, a pawn, manipulated by forces you just refuse to understand. The game was over for you before the first move was even made.
Welcome to Unspoken Rules. We are not here to make you feel comfortable. We're here to arm you. We're about to reveal the brutal, psychological realities that govern power, conflict, and control. These are the truths that are intentionally hidden from you. We're going to dissect the art of psychological warfare.
All right, first things first. Forget everything you think you know about battle. The clash of steel, the roar of engines, that's just theater. The real war, the only war that has ever actually mattered, is fought and won right inside the 6 inches between your opponent's ears.
You know, the ancient master strategist Sun Tzu said it plainly centuries ago. All warfare is based on deception. Not strength, not numbers, deception. The ability to outthink, to outmaneuver, and to psychologically dominate your enemy, that is the supreme art of war. Victory isn't achieved by force, it's achieved by wisdom. And let's be really clear about this definition. Deception isn't just about telling simple lies. No, this is about architecture. It is the strategic art of shaping your opponent's entire reality. You build an illusion. You feign weakness when you are strong. You pretend you're inactive when you're about to move. And you do it all to fool them, to confuse them, until they become so vulnerable they practically invite their own downfall. Let's start with the most primal weapon there is. Long before sophisticated strategy, there was sound. A weapon designed not to persuade the mind, but to bypass it completely, to trigger the animal brain and plunge it into pure chaos. Think about it. Your brain is a machine, and it's got some very ancient wiring. Sudden, loud, dissonant sounds, they aren't just noise. They are a direct attack on your neurology. These sounds trigger the amygdala, that's the fear center of your brain, and your higher cognitive functions just shut down. All rational thought gets replaced by a single desperate command: survive. An undisciplined mind under this kind of assault is no longer a thinking person, it's a cornered animal. And history shows us how ancient warriors absolutely perfected this. The Celtic tribes didn't just shout, they orchestrated a symphony of terror. You had dissonant carnyx horns creating this harsh, awful tumult, the dull, rhythmic menace of swords beating on shields, and 30,000 warriors screaming like wild animals. Or look at the American Civil War. The rebel yell was described as a fiendish shriek, a sound so appalling it could paralyze veteran Union soldiers with fear. The goal was always simple: cause a complete sensory overload and break your enemy's mind before you even made physical contact.
Okay, so now we build. We go from the primal to the sophisticated. Once you understand how to bypass the rational mind with noise, the next level is to actually manipulate it with cunning, to make your enemy the architect of his own downfall. This is the unseen attack.
Sun Tzu, again, gives us the master key. Hold out baits to entice the enemy, feign disorder, and crush him. You see, this isn't a direct assault, it's a trap. You don't attack your enemy's strength, you attack his mind. You exploit his greed, his arrogance, his impatience. You create this illusion of a golden opportunity, and when he takes the bait, the trap is sprung.
And Genghis Khan was the grand master of this tactic. I mean, just look at these steps. It's pure psychological poison. His forces would pretend to have a panicked retreat, right? A classic sign of a broken army. An arrogant enemy, seeing this, would abandon their strong defensive positions to give chase. Then the Mongols would sweeten the pot, dropping plunder and supplies to fuel the enemy's greed and stretch their lines dangerously thin. And then, once the enemy was lured far into the open, totally exposed and disorganized, the hidden main Mongol force would emerge, encircle them, and achieve complete elimination. They didn't just defeat their enemies, they made their enemies defeat themselves.
And the Mongols' arsenal of deception was just vast. On the eve of a battle, each soldier would light 5 fires. Why? To create the illusion of an overwhelmingly massive army that would shatter enemy morale before the sun even came up. They'd send spies into cities to spread rumors of brutality, sowing internal discord and terror. Their archers used whistling arrows, so a single volley sounded like a terrifying storm, causing whole ranks to break from pure auditory fear.
They created a fog of war so thick their opponents are basically fighting ghosts and shadows, their minds completely unable to grasp the real threat.
We've seen chaos, we've seen deception, but now we arrive at the most advanced and, frankly, the most terrifying weapon in the external arsenal, the weaponization of absolute silence. This is where you see true psychological dominance.
Just look at the contrast here. On one hand, you have the barbarian horde, a wall of chaotic, primal screams designed to make you panic. On the other, the Spartan phalanx. They advance slowly, in perfect order, in near total silence, with only the steady music of flutes to accompany them. Can you even imagine the psychological pressure? This wasn't chaos. This was an expression of inhuman control, an inexorable, disciplined machine advancing silently to bring about your end. Now you tell me, which one is more terrifying?
Listen to this very closely. This quote is your key. Silence is not passive. It's not weakness. It's a precision instrument. It's a psychological scalpel. It is the tool you use to force your opponent to dismantle their own mind, without you ever having to lay a finger on them. So, here's how it actually works. When you go silent in the face of an attack, you create a void. And the human brain hates a vacuum. It demands closure. Your opponent will desperately fill that void with their own paranoia, their own fears, their own insecurities. They project their inner chaos onto your calm composure. They'll start talking and talking and talking, just trying to get a reaction. And in the process, they reveal their entire hand. They escalate, becoming louder and more unhinged, until they become their own worst enemy. And all the while, you've done nothing but observe. The professional Roman legions mastered this as a battlefield tactic. After dealing with the chaos of Celtic war cries, they learned to respond with terrifying discipline. Just imagine a legion of thousands marching toward you in perfect, unnerving silence. The only sound is the rhythmic tramp of their hobnailed sandals. The psychological tension just builds and builds to an unbearable level. And then, at the last possible moment, a single, unified, explosive shout as they hurled their javelins. That sudden switch from eerie quiet to overwhelming sound was enough to shatter the morale of entire armies in an instant.
We have examined all the weapons used against the mind from the outside. But all of them, the noise, the deception, the silence, they're all useless against the ultimate fortress. The final, impenetrable defense isn't external. It's within you. It's self-mastery. The master military philosopher Karl von Clausewitz defined true mental strength perfectly. It is not about being emotionless. It's not about being immune to excitement or fear. A strong mind is one that can feel the storm raging inside, yet maintain its serenity. It's a mind where your perception and your judgment can act with perfect freedom, like the needle of a compass on a ship being tossed in a hurricane. This slide really illustrates the two types of minds in any conflict. First, you have the reactive mind. It's a slave. It's driven by ego, by pride, fear, and anger. It's constantly seeking external validation, which makes it incredibly easy to manipulate. But then you have the stoic mind. This mind is sovereign. It's driven by duty and purpose. It doesn't suppress emotion, it controls it. It validates itself. This is the mind that cannot be broken by external forces, because its entire foundation is internal.
So, how do you build this fortress? These are the principles of calm command, practiced by the greatest military leaders in history. Number 1, pause before you react. Just give your rational mind time to overcome that primal instinct. 2, own your outcomes. Do not waste energy on blame or deflection. 3, focus relentlessly on what you can actually control. Everything else is just a distraction. And finally, number 4, when others are overwhelmed by chaos, you must become the anchor of calm. That is true leadership. That is true power.
So the information has been laid out for you. The weapons used to manipulate your mind have been revealed. The shield of internal discipline has been explained. And yet, the vast majority of people who see this will do absolutely nothing. They will continue to live as pawns, emotionally reactive, their strings pulled by forces they are either too lazy or too afraid to even try to comprehend. But you don't have to be one of them. You need to understand this. You and you alone are the master of your own mind. Your silence is a devastating weapon. Your composure is an impenetrable shield. And your discipline, your ability to control your own internal state, that is the only true freedom you will ever have. So now you stand at a crossroads. You can click away and just return to a life of comfortable ignorance, a puppet in a game you don't even understand. Or you can make a choice.
you can commit to seeing reality for what it actually is. The question isn't for me, it's for you. Will you keep living in the dark, or are you going to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to join us as we continue to break down the unspoken rules of power? The choice is yours.